Hey everyone, how are you? All right, I'm just getting all my stuff organized on my desk, which is always a mess, and then we'll get started. If you haven't yet, you want to paint your background color. I recommended the dark teal from your kit, or black looks great as well. I've got those both as samples. Today I just used a different color so that I don't have three of the same stones. I'm gonna get my paint out. All right, so if you have not already, paint your background. And then for this one, if you have the stencil with 12 arms, we're gonna use that. I'm gonna show you how to make the marks if you just have an 8 or a 16 arm stencil. And so I've got my marking pencil here. I'm gonna lower my camera just a bit. So I'm gonna line this up with the center, and there should be a little dot in the middle to help you. And what we're gonna do is I'm only gonna do the north, south, east, and west with this stencil. A little off center there. Of course, I'm off center, so I'm gonna erase this and start over. That's what I get for trying to rush. If there's anything you should not rush on, it's lining up your stencil. All right, so I've got my 4 cardinal points. And then what you want to do, if you have a 6-arm stencil or 12-arm stencil, just make all your marks. If you have to divide it up like I'm going to do, you do your north, south, east, and west. And then for each segment, I'm going to divide it into thirds. So I'm just going to kind of sketch those 2 lines in there. It's 2 lines, so you end up with 3 segments in each part. And I just kind of sketch those on there. As we work, the most important part is the center. And once we get that all lined up, everything else will fall into place. So that's where we are starting. Get my paint out here. Don't forget to shake up your paint a little bit before you squeeze it out into your paint wells. All right, as far as colors go, we've got a light blue, we've got an aqua, which is the more green color, and then teal, which is the darker blue. So those are the 3 colors. Those are the terms I'm going to use: light blue, aqua, and teal. And then we've got gold and peach. This is actually Venetian gold and then peach pearl. And then we'll get started. So I'm going to line my stone up so that I've got a line going north and south. And the first thing we're going to do is an 8mm center, which is our blue rod. And I'm going to use gold paint for the center dot. Once you have your gold dot, I'm going to use my light blue stylus on the larger end, which is 1.5mm, and I'm going to use the pearl peach paint, and we're going to add 12 dots all the way around, so it's 1 dot on each line.
Did you say the large end or the small end, Terry? Sorry, I'm just getting my paint into my thing.
It's the large end.
Large end, okay.
And as you're working around, I still do my north, south, east, and west like I did with the stencil. And if you have difficulty with your lines, you would just look at this and kind of put 2 dots equidistant in between the north, south, east, and west, if that makes sense. For the next row, we're going to bump up to the green stylus on the small end, which is 2.5 millimeters. I'm going to use the same peach color, and I'm going to add 1 dot in between each of these. So it would be the space in between the lines or the space in between the dots. Remember to dip before each dot.
Are you on the small or the large end? I'm sorry.
I'm using the small end.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we're going to flip that baby over. We're going to use the large end of the green stylus and the gold paint. And we're going to add 1 dot on each line or in between the dots that we just made. All right, for the next step, we're going to go back to our blue rod, 8mm, and our gold paint. And we are going to add 1 dot on every other line. So we end up with 6 of those. Then we are going to switch to our purple rod, and this brings us to step 3 if you're following along on the paper. So we are going to have the 8mm dot, we're going to have 2 6mm dots, and then we're going to have 2 4mm dots. So on each row, right next to that gold, I'm going to use the purple rod, and I'm going to add 2 dots down each arm. Then we're going to switch to our clear stylus, or our clear rod, I mean, and these are 4mm dots. So I'm going to add 2 of these in each row. Oops. Then at the end of each one of these arms, we're going to add what I call a crown. We're going to use our blue stylus on the large end, and we're just going to add a set of 3 dots, and those 3 dots are going to be equal sizes. So I'm going to dip before each dot. I find the easiest way to do this is to do the center dot first, and then to go back and add the other 2, one on each side. And that's how I make my little crown. Then on our guide here, we're going to move on down to step 4 here. And we're going to start adding some things in the spaces. So I am going to get my clear rod, and we are going to add a light blue dot in between these rows. So you should have another line there. You can kind of line it up in between those gold dots on the other arms. And on these gold arms, we went large to small. On these blue arms, we're going to go small to large. So the next dot I'm going to do is my purple rod, and I'm going to use the teal paint, which is the aqua, which is the more green. So it's going to go light blue, aqua. We're going to add 1 aqua dot next to each light blue dot. Then we're going one larger. We're going to use our blue rod, which is 8 millimeters, and we're going to go back to light blue. We're going to add a 3rd dot in that arm. We're going to go one step larger again with our pink rod, which is 10 millimeters, and we're going to use the aqua paint. So the pattern on this arm is light blue, aqua, light blue, aqua. And then at the end of each one of those rows, I'm going to have a 4mm dot with the clear rod and the peach paint. And this is actually going to be, if you look at the sample, it's going to be the center of where we start walking the dots. So I'm going to use 4mm at the end of each row. If you're running out of space, you can use the green stylus on the large end if you need to make a smaller dot. And then on our guide here, we're on step 6. We're going to use our green stylus on the large end with the peach paint, and we're going to walk the dots on each side. I can fit 5 comfortably, so I'm going to try to have 5 on each side. I like to do all of the right side and then go back and do all of the left, but it's perfectly okay to do each one on its own, right and left at the same time if you want to.
Terry, you must have seen me counting.
I count every time I dot by myself. My husband makes fun of me because I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My husband's like, "What are you doing?"
It has to be even.
And then we're going to start working back down this row. I'm going to use the green stylus, the small end, and we're going to make some swishes next to the light blue dots. So I'm going to use the aqua paint, and I'm going to add 1 on the left and then 1 on the right of each one of those light blue dots. Okay. Not what my dog's barking at, but he just told me. Come here. Did you have a bad dream? You can't bark while I'm doing videos. Go lay down. There's literally nothing going on, so I think you had a bad dream or something. Alright, we're going to keep working down that row. I am going to switch to my blue stylus on the large end and the light blue paint, and then I'm going to add the same detail down the next dot, which is the aqua dot. So we're just kind of reversing. This was a light blue dot with aqua swishes. This is an aqua dot with light blue swishes. Then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to use the small end, the 1mm end, and around these little light blue dots that go around the center here, I'm going to walk the dots with aqua. So you'll have to be real careful, but I'm just going to add some dots on each side, and on my sample I was able to do 4. And so I'll do this little walk in the dots on each side. 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and then I'll switch to the next one. And I'm using aqua paint and the small side of the blue stylus, which is 1mm. Then we're going to start filling in some of the space around these pearl crowns. And so for the next step, I need my purple rod, 6mm, and I'm going to use gold paint. And we're going to put these dots kind of right in this little nook between these 2 dots here. So I'm going to add 1 to the right and 1 to the left. And we're going to do that on each row. We are going to continue to go around this shape. So we're kind of doing a reverse crown. For the next step, we're going to use the 4mm, which is the clear rod. And I'm going to continue to curve these around that peach. So 1 on the right and 1 on the left. And do that all the way around. And the next step here is we're going to finish that. So I'm going to take the green stylus on the large end, which is 3mm, and I'm going to walk the dots to kind of finish that shape. So I think I can get 3 on each side. We're going to do that down each arm. Next, we're going to focus on these gold arms, and we're going to use the peach colored paint. I'm going to use the green stylus on the large end, and we're going to walk the dots, but we're going to do it in a different way than I usually do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into this peach paint, and I'm going to walk the dots down the arms. So they're going to get progressively smaller, but I'm going to place them in between each gold. So there's 4 in each row. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to do that down each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same process of walking the dots. We're just spreading them out a little bit. We're going to do that all the way around. And that is it for the main design. The last thing, if you want to, is top dots. And if you're going to top dot, you need to make sure it doesn't have to be completely dry, but you need a pretty good film over the top of your dots in order to make top dots. And you can make it your own. I don't always like to tell you what top dots to do because I want you to be able to play a little bit. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and top dot some dots here. All right, ladies, that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for hopping on live with me. I appreciate you, and I would love it if y'all would post your pictures of your finished pieces in the group. I will see you next week, where we are going to do the advanced artistry, which is this guy right here, and we're going to do it on the wood plaque that you have in your box. So I'll see you next Monday. Good night, everyone.
Night.